have such sights to show you.
Looks like your friend Mickey is getting back on his feet again. So excited to share that unremitting horror. Stories that will make you wriggle and writhe, sharing a new perspective in the vast world of horror. Anyways, today's tale of terror is a reflection of how unfair life can truly be, especially when you're surrounded by others who have that very thing you so desire. Being infected with these terrible thoughts of envy, how these inner feelings poison our way of thinking rather than embracing what we have. There's no shame in admitting this sin when looking at the world around you, carrying those poisonous thoughts, that it's not fair, that you don't get to enjoy the same experiences as others do. I hope today's story shows the exciting conclusion when one decides to feed into these feelings. The woman you see before you, Sarah, for so many years she had carried these horrible feelings of envy and depression, a perfect mixture of emotions that has driven her into achieving the very thing that she couldn't have, motherhood. This story is about a woman's quest against the unfairness of this world, her pursuit of bearing children, and how far she's willing to go to overcome what is believed to be impossible. And what happens when this quest takes her into the deepest, darkest parts of the world. My friends, I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to bless you with a story that will make you feel very uncomfortable with a happy ending that nobody wants, but is desperately asked for. For many years, Sarah had tried achieving her goals with the men of our world, even though she was with many. Ruined marriages, failed relationships, one-night stands gone wrong. Deep down, Sarah had no love for these men, the intimate passion slowly fading away, a woman that only held the desire to be given the seed of life. Except with men, it wasn't that simple. Sure, intimacy was incredibly easy with men, but she knew that none of them were devoted to her goals of reaching motherhood. Which is why Sarah would deceive them with the belief that she couldn't bear any children. How easy it is to lure men into the act of intimacy with promises of having the full experience. Seducing these men with sweet words of fantasy, not knowing that they were participating into making her dreams become a reality. Except Sarah would come to learn that there was truth to this deceitful act when she discovered that her body couldn't bear any children. Even though Sarah had went to see several doctors, hoping to get an opinion or form of treatment that could fulfill her hopes of carrying children, Sarah never realizing how her desperation was causing her to be oblivious to the amount of money she was wasting on visits and experiments that were hopeless, causing Sarah's world to turn dark when it was for certain that she couldn't bear any children of her own. But Sarah's desperation still maintained, which is why she went ahead and did what many of us are thinking, by going to the adoption agency, hoping to adopt and raise a child of her own. But even adoption was hopeless. The adoption agency would say that Sarah was unqualified due to her being a single woman, and the money she made monthly was insufficient. And when Sarah's desperation had corrupted her morals, taking her to the black market, her efforts for a child was still without hope because of how she didn't have money. For some people in this world, they can be an example of how life can be cruel and unfair. Their lives showing us how the world truly doesn't revolve around us. Just because we have fantasy expectations doesn't mean that life is going to go our way. Obviously, Sarah is one of those people, being in the world with other people who have the very thing she so desires. There is confusion, a need to understand this hardship, a deeper look at herself, carefully thinking upon every act, every decision she made in life. Where in life has she gone wrong to deserve this? And Sarah trying to find answers to questions that were left unanswered and ignored by a higher power. Her faith in God deteriorating by this obsession to have the very thing she wants that she rightfully deserves. It explains why Sarah acquired the laminate configuration and turned to the servants of hell to fulfill her goals. Holding the laminate configuration, studying its cubic design, its artistic decoration, analyzing its features for a better understanding of solving this contraption that's supposedly the gateway to hell. Sarah was fully aware that she had no understanding of this contraption, but had the strong belief that this object of holy terror will have the very thing she seeks. She heard of them, the cenobites, the stories, how they would come when being called upon, how they would grant you your deepest, darkest desires. She had also heard of the warnings as well. Even though they will come and grant you the very thing you desire, tread carefully when making a bargain with the cenobites. Of course, there was fear within Sarah when seeing the laminate configuration unraveling itself in her hands, the box answering her desperate pleas. Completely oblivious to the thoughts buried deep in the back of her mind, how she was making a grave mistake. That terrible fear being washed away with the thoughts of meeting an extraordinary cenobite, who would make her become a mother to an extraordinary child. Sarah being bathed with a glowing light, the scent of vanilla in the air, and standing before her was him, her calls being answered by an extraordinary cenobite. There was no fear when gazing upon the cenobite's towering appearance, just the feelings of bliss when knowing that Sarah's journey had finally met its conclusion. Not sure if he was an angel nor a devil, his body both decorated with ritualistic scars and his flawless physique, he was unlike no other man she's seen, for he was more than man. He was beyond perfect for Sarah. Sarah hadn't need any words to explain her reasons for calling upon the cenobite. Immediately he knew her struggles, her desires, and knowing why she was offering her body and soul to the cenobite tossing the laminate configuration to the side. Oh yes, he can easily give this woman a child, an extraordinary child. In fact, he can give her many extraordinary children, knowing how she will enjoy the sweet suffering of birthing something so beautiful. Yes, this Sarah will have a purpose, a valuable role to fulfill, for her journey has came to an end, and be rewarded for her efforts. And having Sarah making herself ready by lying on the bed and prepare herself for the first child. How amusing it is to see a lamb offering itself so willingly, and the sweet suffering when one receives his or her deepest desires. How Sarah's long journey for motherhood would end with her screaming in horror and pain. Yes, my friends, Sarah had gotten what she desired, to be a mother of a child. 9 long months, confined and overlooked within the pits of hell, her body being fed the needed nutrients through tubes injected into several parts of her body, 9 months of pain, feeling its fingers within her. Sarah is an extraordinary child. Very soon, Sarah is about to give birth. Obviously, this is not what Sarah expected. And when Sarah was ready to give birth, the cenobite, ready to see his part of the bargain being fulfilled when assisting Sarah, excited to witness the excruciating pain, the immense suffering of Sarah birthing her first child. When the suffering, the crippling pain receded, the cenobite holding the infant, showing pride over her perfect creation. Except in Sarah's world, perfection isn't what she imagined when the cenobite showed Sarah the child. What she saw was an unremitting horror that diminished every shred of ignorance and fantasy that muddled her mind trying to deny the reality of this being an infant child. Her child. Its deformed, mutated body. Signs of life showing pain and suffering. The cenobite handling the child like an object, twisting its body and stretching its face, turning it into a mangled creature. As promised, Sarah became a mother of an extraordinary child. Human, cenobite, and lamnate configuration all wrapped up in one tidy package. Sarah should be proud with what she did, how she fulfilled her role as mother, a mother of many children that will open a doorway to a new realm in hell. Yes, many children, which was part of the bargain, of course. Isn't that the reasons why Sarah called upon the cenobites? To be mother of many extraordinary children? And the cenobite turning to the grotesque monstrosity, a mindless servant, another cenobite creature that was the twisted result of its master's morbid fascination of discovering new means of pain and suffering. This thing that severely lacked the features of what Sarah would describe as a suitable mate. The actual father of the mangled child. The key component to Sarah's goals of motherhood. Sarah overwhelmed with horror when the cenobite demanded his assistant to immediately make another child, for they have much more extraordinary children to make. Another 9 months of pain and suffering, and another 9 months, and another, and another, and another, for Sarah has plenty of time. All the time in hell.